Under a searing Texas sun, Elias Harper stares in disbelief as a steel fence traps his ranch, a padlock branded with Crestwood Estates logo mocking his freedom. Why is Elias, a man who bled for this land, branded a trespasser? What sinister secrets does Crestwood hide beneath their polished schemes? As Elias grips a hidden key, a war over power and greed ignites. Dive into this electrifying saga of justice and betrayal. Like, share, and subscribe for more stories that expose corruption and spark change. Join us to uncover truth. Under the fiery glow of a Texas sunset, Elias Harper stood on the creaking porch of his 50-acre ranch, nestled in the rolling hills outside Austin. At 42, the former Army medic had traded the chaos of war for the quiet of this land, purchased with every dime of his savings and military compensation. His worn boots scuffed against weathered wood, and in his calloused hands, he held a steaming mug of mint tea, its aroma mingling with the scent of blooming citrus from the orchard behind the house. His hound, Milo, lay curled at his feet, ears twitching at the soft snorts of horses in the barn and the distant trill of a mockingbird. This ranch was Elias's sanctuary, a place where the screens of battlefields faded, replaced by the rustle of ancient live oaks and the promise of peace. For 3 years, it had been his haven, where he taught neighborhood kids to groom horses and tended rows of peach trees sagging with fruit. But peace, Elias knew, had a way of attracting trouble, and it arrived with the roar of bulldozers tearing through the neighboring fields, carving them into Crestwood Estates, a glossy subdivision of identical mansions that gleamed like they belonged in a catalog, not beside his dusty barn. Elias squinted at the horizon, where dust clouds rolls like a storm. "Milo, looks like the city's creeping closer," he murmured, his voice low and weathered. The dog's tail thumped in reply, but his eyes stayed fixed on the encroaching machinery. Elias's friend, Amos Carter, a grizzled former oil driller, sat on a rocking chair nearby, nursing a coffee. "You're dreaming if you think they'll leave you alone, Elias," Amos said, his voice rough as gravel. "Crestwood've got big plans, and your barn ain't in 'em." Elias's jaw tightened, but he forced a chuckle. "Who let 'em plan? This land's mine, Amos. They want it, they'll have to drag me off it." Amos leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "Don't underestimate 'em, son. I heard whispers they're buying up slivers around here. Watch your fences." The first signs of trouble came not with the bang, but with the crisp envelope in Elias's mailbox, stamped with Crestwood Estates HOA's gold-embossed seal. The letter demanded he repaints his barn a neutral tone to align with community elegance and move his old Ford pickup out of sight. Elias tossed it onto a growing pile in his kitchen, muttering, "Community, I ain't my folks." But the letters kept coming, each bolder than the last, citing visual harmony violations for his barbed wire fence and even the wildflowers along his drive. "They're calling my daisies a problem now," Elias scoffed, crumpling one letter and tossing it into his fire pit, watching it curl into ash. Milo growled softly, sensing his master's unease. Elias patted the hound's head. "Don't worry, boy. They're barking up the wrong tree. Your ranch, it's a bit of an eyesore, don't you think?" Elias's eyes narrowed, his grip tightening on his mug. "Eyesores in the eye of the beholder, Pierce. My barn stood here a century. Your mansions, they're brand new and already looking fake." Simon's smile didn't falter, but his fingers twitched on his pen. "We're just asking for cooperation. This development's raising property values. Don't you want to be part of progress?" Elias stepped closer, his voice dry as the dirt underfoot. "Progress? I didn't sign up for your club, and my land ain't your canvas. Take your clipboard and get off my porch." Simon's grin twitched, his eyes glinting with something cold. "We'll find a way to work together, Harper. Crestwood always does." As he turned, his loafers crunching gravel, Elias caught the glance Simon shot at his barn. A predator sizing up prey. "He's trouble, Milo," Elias whispered, his hand resting on the hound's neck. "Big trouble." Days later, Elias spotted neon orange surveyor stakes glinting along his fence line, their flags fluttering like warnings in the dusk. His gut twisted as he traced the boundary, each stake a silent threat. He drove his rattling pickup to the county clerk's office, where Clara Hayes, a silver-haired clerk with the no-nonsense stare, slid his deed across the counter. "Your title's ironclad, Elias," she said, her voice slow, "but HOAs like Crestwood don't play fair. They'll poke until you break." Elias's fingers traced the map, his tone steady. "All legal, Clara, every inch." She leaned closer, her voice a rasp. "Legal don't stop greed. I heard they're buying up slivers around your land. Check your gate." Elias's eyes darkened. "They're circling me, ain't they?" Clara nodded, her tone grim. "Like vultures, keep your deed close." That night, Elias sat on his porch, Milo at his feet, the stars sharp above. He cleaned his old service pistol, its metal cool in his hands, not because he craved a fight, but because he sensed one brewing. The air felt heavy, like the calm before a twister. Simon's parting words echoed, "We'll find a way." Elias's jaw clenched, his voice a whisper to the dark. "Not if I find one first." Across the hills, Crestwood's lights twinkled, a false promise of harmony, unaware that Elias's resolve was hardening. But a new detail gnawed at him, a faded note tucked in his deed, scribbled by the previous ranch owner, hinting at subsurface rights reserved. Elias's pulse quickened. "What's under this dirt, Milo?" he murmured as he scanned the horizon. "And why do they want it so bad?" The next morning, Elias found a small, unmarked package at his gate, a rusted key wrapped in a note. "For the old well, they're watching it." No signature, no clue, but the well, hidden in a thicket near his northern fence, was one he'd never used. Curiosity burning, he trekked through brambles to find it, the key fitting perfectly in its ancient lock. Below, the faint gurgle of water echoed and a chill ran through him. Water, or something more. As he locked it back, a drone's buzz broke the silence, its red light blinking overhead. Elias's hand twitched toward his slingshot, but he held back, his voice low. "You're spying now, Crestwood. Game's on." Unbeknownst to him, this discovery would spark a battle not just for his land, but for a secret buried beneath it, a secret Crestwood would kill to claim. The Texas dawn painted the hills in hues of amber, but the air around Elias Harper's ranch carried a sharper edge, thick with the scent of cedar and the faint tang of diesel from Crestwood Estates' relentless machines. The surveyor stakes along his fence line, neon orange flags flapping like taunts, had multiplied overnight, creeping closer to his property's heart. Elias stood in his kitchen, the pile of Crestwood's letters now spilling from the drawer onto the counter, each one a demand to conform or face fines. He burned the latest one in his fire pit, the flames licking the paper as Milo's low growl echoed his unease. "They're not just talking anymore, boy," Elias said, his voice steady but laced with the soldier's instinct for trouble. He knew Crestwood was circling, and the cryptic note about the old well, its key now tucked in his pocket, hinted at a prize they coveted beneath his land. That morning, Elias drove his pickup to the county clerk's office, the engine rattling as he navigated dusty roads. Clara Hayes, her silver hair pulled tight, greeted him with a frown. "They're moving fast, Elias," she said, sliding a map across the desk. "Crestwood's filed claims on adjacent lots. They're calling it community expansion." Elias's fingers traced the boundary lines, his eyes narrowing. "Expansion. Sounds like a land grab to me. What's their angle, Clara?" She leaned in, her voice a hushed warning. "The raft of more than dirt. Old surveyor's logs mention water tables under your ranch, maybe oil too. They'll bury you in paperwork if you don't push back." Elias's jaw tightened, his tone firm. "Let 'em try. I've faced worse than paper cuts." Clara's eyes softened, but her words were grim. "They've got deep pockets and deeper tricks. Check your water rights, Elias. That well might be your ace." Back at the ranch, Elias hiked to the old well, hidden in a tangle of mesquite. He turned the rustic key, the lock groaning as it gave way. Peering down, he saw a faint shimmer of water, its depth unreadable. "This is what they want," he muttered to Milo, who sniffed the air warily. A sudden rustle in the brush made Elias spin, his hand instinctively reaching for the knife in his boot. A young woman emerged, her Crestwood intern badge glinting, Maya Navarro, barely 20, with eyes that held both fear and defiance. "Mr. Harper, I shouldn't be here," she whispered, clutching a folded paper. "But you need to see this." Elias's gaze locked on hers. "Why risk it, Maya? What's Crestwood hiding?" She hesitated, then handed him the paper, a leaked memo detailing plans for a luxury resort with Elias's ranch as its centerpiece. "They're after your water," she said, her voice trembling. "The well's on a vein they need for their pipeline. They'll do anything to get it." Elias unfolded the memo, his pulse quickening as he read. "Anything, huh? Like what, Maya?" Her eyes darted to the trees, as if expecting eyes in the shadows. "They've got Simon Pierce on a leash, debts he can't pay. They're planning to rezone your land as public utility. You'll lose it all if you don't fight." Elias's jaw tightened, his tone firm. "Fight's what I do best. You're sticking your neck out, kid. Why?" Maya's jaw clenched, her voice fierce. "My uncle lost his farm to vultures like these. I won't let it happen to you." Elias nodded, pocketing the memo. "Stay low, Maya. I'll handle this." She slipped back into the brush, leaving Elias with a spark of resolve and a new ally. That evening, Simon Pierce returned, this time with a new tactic. His SUV rolled up to the fence and he stepped out. His suit rumbled, his smile replaced by a scowl. "Harper, let's talk business," he called, holding up a contract. "Sign this easement, let us access your well, and we'll make you rich." Elias leaned against his gate, his tone cold. "Rich? You think I'd trade my home for your dirty money?" Simon's eyes flashed with desperation. "Don't be a fool. Crestwood's got the county in its pocket. You'll lose everything if you don't play ball." Elias stepped forward, his presence towering. "You're the one losing, Pierce. My land's not for sale, and neither's my spine." Simon's voice cracked, his facade slipping. "You don't get it, do you? This is bigger than you. Sign, or we'll bury you." Elias's laugh was low, cutting. "Bury me? You'll need more than a pen for that." As Simon drove off, Elias noticed a glint near the fence. A tiny camera, its lens bearing Crestwood's logo. He snapped a photo, his voice a growl. "Spying on me now? Rookie mistake." He texted Maya, "Check their files for surveillance orders. They're watching." Her reply was swift, "On it, be careful." The next day, Elias found more stakes, now inches from his barn. He drove to Amos's cabin, where the old driller pored over yellowed maps. "Your well's sitting on a fault line," Amos said, tapping a faded line. "Water's one thing, but there's oil down there too. Crestwood's claim for millions." Elias's eyes darkened. "They're not just after my home, they're after a fortune." Amos nodded, his voice grim. "They'll break every rule to get it. You need a plan, son." Elias returned to the ranch under a starless sky, Milo pacing beside him. He sat at his kitchen table, the memo and well key before him, his mind racing. Crestwood's letters had escalated to threats of eminent domain, claiming his land for public use. But Maya's intel and Amos's maps painted a clearer picture. The well was the key to a pipeline that could make Crestwood's resort a reality, and Elias's ranch a memory. As he cleaned his rifle, not for violence but for readiness, a faint hum broke the silence, a drone hovering over his barn. Elias grabbed his slingshot, firing a stone that sent it wobbling. "Keep your toys out of my sky," he growled, his voice carrying into the night. The next morning, Elias found a new letter nailed to his gate, not mailed, a direct threat to seize his well for community benefit. Attached was a grainy photo of him at the well, Proof Crestwood's cameras were everywhere. His blood ran cold, but his resolve hardened. They're scared, Milo, and scared folks make mistakes. He called Clara, his voice urgent. They're threatening to take my well. Can they do that? Clara's tone was sharp. Not legally, but they've got friends in high places. Get proof, Elias, hard proof. As he hung up, a text from Maya buzzed. Found emails. Simon's boss, Grayson Corp, is bankrolling this. Your well's their lifeline. Elias gripped the key, his voice whisper. They locked the wrong man out. The Texas moon hung low, casting a silver glow over the steel fence that imprisoned Elias Harper's ranch, its padlock a silent dare. Elias stood resolute on his newly acquired 4x4-foot parcel, the gate key a cold weight in his pocket, Milo's ears twitching at the hum of Crestwood Estates golf carts in the distance. The flash drive from Maya Navarro burned in his mind, proof that Crestwood's resort hinged on the water and oil beneath his well. The ground's faint tremor, a pulse of secrets buried deep, fueled his defiance. Simon Pierce's SUV had barely vanished into the night when Elias noticed a new threat. A handwritten note spiked onto his gatepost, reading, "Surrender the well or lose it all." His pulse quickened, but his voice was steady as he spoke to Milo. "They gettin' bold, boy. Let's see Elias play." The next dawn, Elias hammered a no trespassing sign into his parcel, each strike a vow. Crestwood's response was swift. A black SUV roared up, brakes screeching. Simon leapt out, his face flushed, flanked by 2 security guards in navy polos. "You're pushing too far, Harper," he snarled, pointing at the sign. "Tear it down or we'll do it for you." Elias leaned against his truck, his tone sharp as flint. "Pushin'? You're the one fencing my home. This sign's on my dirt, Simon. Touch it and you'll answer for it." Simon's eyes blazed, his voice low. "You're a fool thinking the sign changes anything. That well's ours by right." Elias's grin was cold, his voice cutting. "Right? You mean your greed. My deed says otherwise." A crowd of Crestwood residents gathered, their khakis and sundresses a stark contrast to the dust swirling around Elias. A woman in pearls whispered, "He's got nerve." Her husband nodded, phone raised, filming. Olivia Grant's SUV rolled up, her heels clicking as she emerged with a thick folder in hand. "Mr. Harper, you're defying a county petition," she said, her voice crisp as ice. "Your land's within our secured zone, community property now." Elias stepped closer, his eyes locked on hers. "Community? You're still in my life's work and calling it charity. Show me the law that lets a man's home caged." Olivia's smile was venomous, her tone low. "The law bends to progress. You're a relic, Harper, and relics get buried." Elias pulled the gate key, holding it up, its glint a challenge. "Buried? You'll need this to get through. Good luck taking it." Simon lunged forward, his voice a snarl. "You're a dead end, Harper. Give it up." Elias didn't flinch, his tone steady. "Dead end's your plan, Simon. I'm just starting." The guards shifted, one gripping a radio, but Olivia waved them off, her voice sharp. "Stand down. We'll settle this legally." She turned to Elias, her eyes glinting. "You're a small fish in a big pond, Harper. Crestwood always wins." Elias's laugh was low, resonant. "Big pond, you just swam in my waters." A rustle near the gate caught Elias's eye. Maya Navarro lingered, her face pale, clutching a notebook. She caught his gaze, her voice a whisper. "It's worse than you think, Mr. Harper. They're hiding something bigger." Elias's heart raced, his tone urgent. "Bigger how, Maya?" She glanced at Simon, her voice trembling. "Meet me at the old bridge tonight. I'll show you." She slipped away as Olivia snapped, "Enough, Harper. Vacate this parcel or we'll sue." Elias dangled the key, his tone mocking. "Sue me, but this gate's mine. Try getting in without it." That evening, Elias met Maya at the bridge, its rusted beams creaking under a starless sky. She slid a USB drive across the railing, her voice hushed. "They're not just after water. Your well's on a fault line. Oil's confirmed. They've got Grayson Corp investors lined up." Elias's breath caught, his voice low. "Oil. They knew all along." Maya nodded, her eyes wide. "They've been bribing county officials to rezone your land. Simon's their puppet." Elias pocketed the drive, his tone grim. "You're risking everything, Maya. Why me?" Her voice cracked, fierce. "My family's land was stolen by men like them. You're fighting for justice, Harper." Elias nodded, his voice warm. "You're the brave one here. Stay safe." Back at the ranch, Elias pored over the drive's files, emails tying Simon to Grayson's CEO, maps marking his well as the resort's lifeline. A new detail chilled him, a soil test report, buried by Crestwood, hinting at a rare mineral deposit alongside the oil. "They're not just greedy," he muttered to Milo. "They're desperate." The next morning, he found tire tracks near his barn. Someone had tried to pry the well's lock. Elias rigged a motion sensor, his voice low. "Come back, and you'll regret it." At Crestwood's annual picnic, Elias drove up, dust trailing like a war cry. He nailed another sign to his parcel. "This land is free." Simon charged across the lawn, his voice a snarl. "You're making a spectacle, Harper. Stop this." Elias straightened, his tone ice cold. "Spectacle? You locked me out of my life. This sign's my answer." A man in a golf hat whispered, "He's not scared." Olivia emerged, her folder open, a map highlighted. "Your ranch is ours by rezoning, Harper. You're a squatter now." Elias's fist clenched, his voice thundered. "Squatter? I bled for this ground. You don't erase that with the map." A tremor shook the earth, stronger than before, rattling the gate. The crowd gasped, and Elias knelt, feeling the pulse. "It's alive down there," he said, his voice low. Olivia's eyes flickered with unease, but her tone stayed sharp. "Sell the parcel, Harper. Take the cash and walk." Elias's grin was lethal. "Cash? My freedom's worth more than your lies." As Crestwood's SUV retreated, Elias stood tall. The fence was a battlefield where he held the key, literally and figuratively. Maya's drive was his weapon, and the Earth's pulse a reminder that the fight was far from over. He texted Amos, "Get me a geologist, we're digging deeper." The stars above burned bright, witnesses to a war that would shake Crestwood's empire to its core. The Texas sun scorched the earth, casting jagged shadows across the steel fence that caged Elias Harper's ranch, its padlock glinting ricotant. Elias stood on his 4x4-foot parcel, the gate key, a hard-won trophy in his pocket. Milo's ears pricked at the distant hum of Crestwood Estates golf carts. The USB drive from Maya Navarro burned in his mind, proof that Crestwood's resort hinged on the oil and rare minerals beneath his well. The earth's tremors, pulsing stronger now, whispered of a fortune Crestwood would kill to claim. Elias's motion sensor at the well had caught shadows moving in the night, and the tire tracks near his barn told him Crestwood was desperate. His voice was a low growl to Milo. "They're closing in, boy, but we're ready." That morning, Elias drove to the gate, his pickup kicking up dust, a new private property sign under his arm. He hammered it deep into his parcel, each strike a defiance. A black SUV roared up, brakes screeching. Simon Pierce leapt out, his face red with fury, his voice a snarl. "You're digging your grave, Harper. That sign's coming down." Elias leaned on his truck, his tone sharp as a blade. "Grave? You're the one burying yourself, Simon. This land's mine, and you're trespassing." Simon's eyes blazed, his voice low. "You're blocking progress. That well's our future." Elias's laugh was cold, cutting the air. "Progress? You're stealing my home for your payday. Try again." Olivia Grant emerged from the SUV, her suit crisp despite the heat, a map in hand. "You're obstructing a county-approved project, Harper," she said, her voice like steel. "Your parcel's in our way, and we'll take it." Elias stepped closer, his eyes locked on hers. "Take it? My deed's rock solid. Your map's just a lie with lines." Olivia's smile was venomous, her tone low. "The county's on our side. You'll be a memory soon." Elias pulled the gate key. It's clicked, a challenge. "Memory? I'm standing right here, and this key says I stay." A crowd of Crestwood residents gathered, phones filming, a man in a golf hat murmuring, "He's fearless." Maya lingered at the edge, her face pale, slipping Elias a note. "They're digging tonight, stop them." His heart raced, his voice low. "What's their move, Maya?" She whispered, "They're cutting a new path to bypass your gate. Grayson's orders." Elias nodded, his tone firm. "You're risking it all. Stay hidden." Maya's eyes were fierce. "Expose them, Harper, for everyone they've crushed." That night, Elias's drone buzzed over the fence, its camera catching 3 men in hoodies digging a trench on Crestwood's side, blueprints glowing under a flashlight. Elias recorded, his voice sharp through the dark. "Caught you red-handed, boys." One dropped his shovel, a walkie-talkie crackling. "He's here, pull back." They fled, but Elias's footage was gold. He sent it to Maya with the note, "Get this to Tara Holt." Her reply was instant. "Done. Watch your back." At dawn, Amos called, his voice urgent. "That trench is for a new road, Harper. Grayson's bankrolling it. Your well's their lifeline, water and oil." Elias's fists clenched, his voice grim. "So it's a corporate heist. They're done." A new threat emerged. A bulldozer rumbled toward his orchard, a driver waving a permit. "County orders," he shouted. Elias blocked its path, his voice booming. "That's a lie. Stand down." Sheriff Jonah Tate's squad car screeched up, lights flashing. "Who signed this?" Jonah demanded, scanning the permit. His eyes narrowed. "This seal's forged. You're done here." He turned to Elias, his voice low. "Crestwood's gone rogue. They'll hit harder." Elias nodded, his tone steady. "I'm ready, Jonah." That evening, Maya slipped Elias a burner phone at a diner, her voice trembling. "They know I leaked the files. Grayson's got dirt on Simon, debts he's drowning in." Elias's eyes softened, his voice warm. "You're braver than them, Maya. I'll keep you safe." She shook her head, her voice fierce. "End this, Harper, for my uncle's farm, for your ranch." Elias pocketed the phone, his voice resolute. "I will." At midnight, his barn cameras caught 2 men splashing kerosene on his hay bales, lighters flickering. Milo's barks alerted him, and Elias called 911, his voice urgent. "Intruders at my barn." Deputies arrived, finding a Crestwood logoed glove. Jonah reviewed the footage, his voice hard. "They meant to burn you out. This is war." By morning, Elias nailed the glove to his gate with the sign, "I see you." Crestwood's residents buzzed, a woman in pearls whispering, "They're crooks." Elias sent the kerosene footage to Tara Holt. Her voice crackled through his phone. "This is explosive, Harper. It's going live tonight." At 6 p.m., her segment aired, Crestwood's land heist, showing the trench, bulldozer, and sabotage. Views soared, hashtags like #StandWithHarper trending. Simon's USV rolled up at dusk, his voice desperate. "You're ruining us, Harper. Call it off." Elias leaned on the gate, his tone cold. "Ruining? You sent thugs to torch my barn. You're sinking yourself." Olivia emerged, her voice sharp. "Settle this, Harper. Grayson's offering $1 million for the parcel." Elias's laugh of lethal. $1 million? My land is worth more than your tricks." A tremor shook the ground, stronger, rattling the fence. The crowd gasped and Elias knelt, feeling the earth's pulse. "It's talking," he said, his voice low. Olivia's eyes flickered with fear, but her tone stayed firm. "Take the deal or regret it." Elias dangled the key, his voice resonant. "Regrets for losers, Olivia. I'm just getting started." As Crestwood retreated, Elias stood tall, the fence a battlefield where he held the high ground, ready to strike at their empire's heart. The Texas dawn broke in a blaze of gold, its light glinting off the steel fence that encircled Elias Harper's ranch, the padlock now a symbol of defiance rather than defeat. Elias stood on his 4x4-foot parcel, the gate key heavy in his pocket, Milo's tail thumping the dirt as the distant hum of Crestwood's estate sprinklers mocked the silence. The earth's tremors had grown fiercer, a pulse of oil and minerals that fueled Crestwood's greed. Tara Holt's broadcast had ignited a firestorm, with hashtags like "Stand with Harper" trending and Crestwood's phones ringing off the hook. Elias's footage of the trench, the forged permit, and the kerosene-soaked hay had exposed their empire, but he knew the war wasn't won. His voice was a low murmur to Milo. "They're cornered, boy. Now they'll fight dirty." Elias drove to the gate, dust swirling like a battle cry, and planted a new sign. "Liberty stands here." Simon Pierce's SUV screeched up, his face haggard, his voice a rasp. "You've gone too far, Harper. Shut this down or you'll pay." Elias leaned against his truck, his tone ice cold. "Pay? You tried to burn my home, Simon. You're the one owing." Simon's eyes darted, his voice trembling. "You don't get it. Grayson's got me by the throat." Elias's grin was sharp. "Then cut the rope, Simon. My land's not your bailout." A crowd of Crestwood residents gathered, their whispers growing louder, a woman in a sundress murmuring, "He's right. They're thieves." Olivia Grant stepped from her SUV, her heels sinking into the dirt, a contract in hand. "Harper, this is your last chance," she said, her voice sharp as glass. "Sign over the parcel or we'll seize it through eminent domain." Elias's eyes locked on hers, his voice thundered. "Seize? This is my blood in the soil. You don't own me with your papers." Olivia's smile was thin, her tone venomous. "You're a speck against Grayson's machine. We'll erase you." Elias dangled the key, his tone mocking. "Erase me? You'll need this first. Good luck." Maya Navarro slipped through the crowd, her face taut, pressing a folded note into Elias's hand. "They're planning something tonight. Grayson's sending a crew." Elias's heart raced, his voice low. "What kind, Maya?" Her eyes were fierce. "To sabotage the well. Poison it, maybe. You've got to stop them." Elias nodded, his tone firm. "You're risking everything. Stay safe." Maya's voice cracked. "Finish this, Harper. For all of us." That afternoon, a tremor shook the ground, rattling the fence and startling the crowd. Elias knelt, feeling the earth's pulse, stronger now. "It's alive," he said, his voice low. A man in a golf hat whispered, "What's he got that they want so bad?" Elias texted Amos, "Get a geologist here now. We need proof." Amos replied, "On it. Found a report. Your well's got lithium too." Elias's breath caught. "Lithium," he muttered. "They're chasing a gold mine." At dusk, Elias rigged cameras around the well, their lenses hidden in the mesquite. As night fell, his sensors blared. 3 men in black crept toward the well carrying canisters. Elias's drone buzzed overhead, capturing their faces. "Drop it," he shouted, stepping from the shadows, Milo growling. One man froze, spilling a canister. A sharp chemical stench filled the air. "Grayson sent you, didn't they?" Elias demanded, his voice ablade. The man stammered, "We're just following orders." Elias's tone was lethal. "Tell Grayson their poison won't touch my land." They fled, leaving a canister marked with Grayson's logo. Elias sent the footage to Tara, his voice grim. "This is their endgame." Tara's next broadcast, Crestwood's Toxic Play, aired at 8 p.m., showing the canister and the men's faces. Views hit millions and hashtag Harper Fights Back trended globally. Crestwood's office went dark, their social media silent. Simon arrived at dawn, his voice broken. "You've ruined me, Harper. Grayson's cutting me loose." Elias leaned on the gate, his tone cold. "You chose their leash, Simon. Now live with it." Olivia emerged, her face pale, her voice desperate. "Grayson's offering $2 million, Harper. Take it and end this." Elias's laugh was low, resonant. 2 million. My home's worth more than your empire's lies." Jonna Tate's squad car rolled up, lights flashing. "Got warrants," he said, holding up papers. "Grayson's under investigation. Bribery, fraud, and now this poison stunt." He turned to Elias, his voice low. "You've got them running scared." Elias nodded, his tone steady. "Scared's when they break, Jonah." That evening, Maya met Elias at a diner, her hands shaking. "They fired me, but I got more. Emails showing Grayson's CEO bribed the county board." Elias's eyes softened, his voice warm. "You're a hero, Maya. I'll make sure they know." She smiled, her voice firm. "Just win, Harper." The next day, Elias stood at his gate as a news van arrived. Tara Halt stepped out, her voice crackling with energy. "We're live, Harper. Tell the world." Elias faced a camera, his voice steady. "Crestwood tried to steal my home, poison my land, but this key, this dirt, it's mine, and I'm not alone." The crowd cheered, a woman in pearl shouting, "We're with you." Elias opened the gate, inviting neighbors onto his ranch for a gathering under the oaks. Tables groaned with food, kids ran with Milo, and the fence stood, not as a cage, but a monument to resistance. Elias Harper's battle against Crestwood Estates reveals profound lessons in resilience and justice. His unwavering stand against greed teaches us that courage can dismantle even the most insidious systems. By outsmarting Crestwood's schemes with strategic moves like securing the gate key, Elias shows that ingenuity transforms oppression into opportunity. The support from Maya, Amos, and Jonah underscores the power of collective action. Justice thrives when voices unite. Elias's fight, rooted in love for his land, challenges us to confront injustice head-on, protect our rights, and amplify the silenced. His creation of Harper's Stand inspires us to build communities where fairness reigns, proving that determination finds the key to any wall greed erects. This story urges us to question authority, hold truth high, and forge chains that echoes beyond one fight. Let Elias's legacy fuel your resolve to safeguard what's yours with unyielding spirit. For more electrifying tales of grit, justice, and triumph that spark reflection and action, like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Join us to uncover stories that empower, challenge, and redefine what it means to stand tall against the odds. Don't miss the next saga. Hit that subscribe button now.